Matchday 2 of the Africa Cup of Nations has kicked off, and we already have controversy, big games, big moments, big players, and big goals. The action has not stopped even after the festive season break, and it only seems to be going harder, faster, and we're leading into a collision course that will be cataclysmic in this competition storyline as we approach the end of the group stage and into the knockout phase. It's gonna be a very, very rocky ride, so best you strap on your seatbelts. Hi, I'm the Football Otaku, and welcome to the second episode of Total AFCON Daily. Yes, it's called Total AFCON Daily, and I just want to say to everybody, I hope you had a blessed Christmas, spent time with, friends, family, loved ones, ate a lot of food, had a lot of fun. I sure as hell did. Sorry for going ghost on you guys and missing a few games and missing a few days because, well, it's Christmas and the festive season, and I kind of needed to recharge the batteries. I was feeling a little run down lately with the amount of AFCON coverage I have been putting, not just on this channel but on other platforms as well. So I really needed to just turn off the battery and realize that although I am the football otaku, there's sometimes more to life than just football. So thanks for your understanding, but now I am back and I hope to be uploading more episodes of this show all the way till the end of the group stage. It will be pretty difficult. The group stage ends on New Year's Eve, but we'll see where we go, and hopefully I will be as regular with the uploads. Anyway, if you guys are loving the content, don't forget to like, to share, and subscribe, all that other wonderful stuff. And enough of my ramblings about all the stuff that's happening on the pitch. Let's go to Morocco and talk about what happened on the pitch. Oh, well, that's awkward. Morocco would start their second game of the Africa Cup of Nations and they'll take on Mali. Having won the opening game in albeit spectacular but unconvincing fashion, the Atlas Lions were forced into a change in defense. Roman Saiss picking up his injury, knowing that he'll miss the rest of the tournament. A new man was brought in defense, and for Morocco, it was they did start well enough, but it was kind of like the same old problems. They start well enough, have a lot of the ball, but at times struggle to break it down. Teams that are very low block or very much employ a low block, such as Tom Saints feeds Mali. And Mali started this game with a lot of changes. Nene Delorges was on the bench, which was already a huge gamble from the Belgian coach. And Morocco would start the game pretty well. They would have some opportunities, but not much to write home about. But they would break the deadlock in the most controversial fashion. A penalty. I mean, Brahim Diaz does very well to dribble past the Malian defender. The Malian defender that he then faces next starts to look a little bit odd, starts wobbling a little, and then sort of makes contact with the ball going down. And this is a very controversial call. It looks very rough. And we'll mention this later in the other game I'm going to mention later. We all know which game this is. If you're clued enough, you'll know which game I'm talking about. So it's a very odd decision. He catches the defender in a very awkward position, and the referee essentially has no choice but to give the penalty. I mean, you can see by the letter of the law, but it just looks so awkward. And it's not like he's trying to handle the ball. It's just that he's trying to get up, but you can't do that without your arms. So Brahim Diaz catches the ball in a very odd way, or the defender catches the ball in a very odd way, and it's a penalty for Morocco. And unlike on opening night, there were no opening day jitters. Sofiane Rahimi, who started the match and took the penalty, was on the bench, and Brahim Diaz would score and would have his second goal of the Cup of Nations, sending the goalkeeper the wrong way and Morocco into the tunnel with a 1-0 lead. It would be there where Morocco again looked very unimaginative at times, don't look like they were attacking, and Mali sort of started to grow onto their own as the match went on. Sinayoko again proving very much the catalyst for all the good things that Mali did, and he would really do the best of jobs in the 65th minute, where he would maraud into the area, be taken down by a defender, and at first The referee ignores the incident, with sends Malian players absolutely screaming, and eventually he's called to the monitor. It's a stonewall penalty, and the referee had no choice but to give the penalty. Sinayoko, who missed on opening day against Zambia, would also have his redemption moment from 12 yards, where he'd calmly slot under Yasin Bono, who's now the team captain for the rest of the competition. Hakimi doesn't start this one again, in case you're wondering, for 1-1, and after that it would be Mali who would take over the game. It'd be Mali who would have the better breaks, although they wouldn't have the opportunities per se, but they would exploit Morocco for their gung-ho nature. Morocco very gung-ho in this game, and Mali would catch them, especially in the end, quite a bit. I mean, there was one chance near the end where they had a 4-on-3. They don't work it right, and they don't really get the shot off. There was another penalty shout near the end of the game for a handball, but the referee waves this away, and it ends 0-0. And again, it's a game where Morocco don't cover themselves in glory. It's a game where they look pretty unimaginative. It's a game where Regragui doesn't really play his best football, and it's a game where it hasn't at all quelled the murmurs, and you could tell that at some time that the pressure was getting to these players. I've mentioned in my preview that for Morocco, they're going to be under insane home pressure, and tonight showed the negatives of that pressure. You know, the positives was winning on opening day, but now they've drawn against a better opponent in Mali, and against Zambia. Now it will be very important to see how Morocco bounce back against Zambia in that final group game. For Mali, on the other hand, this is a precious point. It would have been very hard done by not getting the 3 points against Zambia, but getting a point here keeps their qualification hopes alive, and on the final day they'll definitely fancy themselves against Comoros to finish top 2 and go through to the last 16. In the other game, it was a COSAFA derby, as Zambia would take on Comoros, and there's not really much I can say about this game. I mean, Zambia definitely had their chances. Zambia looked the better of the two sides overall, not just in the first but in the second half as well, but they just didn't have the creativity or the wherewithal to break down the Comorian defense. Comoros would score a goal, but it would be ruled out for a foul leading up to the play. But it was a game that really for Zambia showed a lot of their frailties. I mean, they were pretty frail against Mali as well, but they were able to show that they were able to dig a moment of quality to get an equalizer. But this time, in a game where they were favorites, were the better team and had the initiative, they didn't really take that initiative very well, and now failed to get a result. And it's a game that now against Morocco, they're going to be under a lot more pressure, knowing that they'll most likely have to win to go through, which is going to be important, which is going to be almost impossible, because now that means you have to beat the host nation. And as much as this Morocco team do look very vulnerable, the problem is, do Zambia have the quality to beat this Morocco side or to challenge this Morocco side? For the Comoros, on the other hand, I mean, it's the first points, which is good, but now they will start against massive underdogs against Mali, and even then, a victory might not even be enough to see them through. They'll have to win and then wait for things to happen in the other groups so they can steal a wildcard slot. So it's not going to be very easy for the Comoros, and they find themselves in a very delicate situation. So this is how the group lines up. You have Morocco on top with 4 points. You have Mali with 2, Zambia with 2, and Comoros with 1 point. And as I mentioned earlier, the final round of games sees Zambia take on Morocco, while Mali take on the Comoros. Group B began action today in Marrakesh with yet another COSAFA derby. It was COSAFA derby Boxing Day, as Zimbabwe would take on Angola. There would be a massive amount of changes in the Angolan side. A lot of the players that started the defeat South Africa were on the bench, while it would be they who would get the goal, the first goal of the game. Gelson Dala, one of the stars of this Angolan side, would take the ball from about from just inside halfway and would essentially ride the ball from ride the touchline. And many people would have expected him to cross the ball or to at least play it across. He would take a shot and it would go beyond the goalkeeper for 1-0. Well-worked move from Dala, and really the spark and quality that this Angolan side had. They always did have the spark and the quality, but they really needed that top tier. They really needed to be clicking, and they did with that moment. But then, sadly, that moment wouldn't last till the break, as Zimbabwe would equalize through their veteran striker, Knowledge Musona, who would score just inside stoppage time. And it's the best time to score for Zimbabwe and the worst time for Angola. It shows that they really lacked concentration, and conceding just before the break is a real gut punch, because now it changes the tactics. They were all planning to go to the dressing room 1-0 up and try to consolidate the game. Instead, now it's 1-1, sorry, and now things have to change, the tactics have to change. In the second half, you could definitely see an improved effort from both sides. I mean, they both needed to win the game, especially in the context of the group, having both lost on opening day. But neither were able to crack down the defense. There were some chances. Angola definitely threw a lot more at it, but sadly the deadlock couldn't be broken, and it's a result that really benefits no one, because it now means both of them have to win on the final day, which is not really going to be easy. So it ends 1-1 between Angola and Zimbabwe, and now they have to sit and hope for the results in the other game in Agadir. Biggest game of the tournament, and it had everything, absolutely everything. South Africa would take on Egypt in Agadir, knowing that with the result earlier, the winner of this match would not only qualify for the last 16, but would actually win the group by the head-to-head rule. South Africa had made no changes from the side that had beaten, in fact both teams had made no changes from the side that had won on opening day. It would be Egypt who would start the game a lot stronger. Definitely see Salah Mamouche definitely making a lot of inward runs and a lot of chances and shots at Ronwen Williams. South Africa never really imposed themselves. Lyle Foster seemed cut off at times, and we never really could hold the ball together. With Egypt, they were a lot more inventive, spent a lot more time in the Bafana half, and they would definitely leave a better imprint in the game. And that's where the first real controversial moment happens. The ball played into the area. Salah doesn't really control the ball well, and then he gets into a tangle with Mkhuliso Mudau. He goes down. The referee first ignores the call until he's called to VAR. He looks at the monitor and he gives a penalty. Mudau has his hand in Salah's face, and as much as a lot of my fellow countrymen, yes, I'm South African. I am South African. I know, absolute shocker. But I actually think the referee got this one right. It's harsh in terms of the contact, but it is in the letter of the law. He's right. A player has no business putting his hand on another player's face, not in any context. You have no business doing that. If this happens anywhere on the pitch, it's a foul, and if it happens especially in the box, it's a penalty. It's a very rough call. It's a very harsh call, because it's not like Mudau gets an awful lot of contact on Salah, and it's not as malicious as, say, other handoffs were, but by the letter of the law, it is a foul and thus a penalty. So I'd say the referee at least got this big call right. It's not very popular, but he kind of got it right. Salah would step up and would send the penalty right down the middle beyond Ronwen Williams to give Egypt a 1-0 lead. Egypt would then be hamstrung by one of their own, as if you thought Mkhuliso Mudau's stupidity was bad, wait till you see Mohamed Hani, who somehow got 2 yellow cards and got sent off. His second yellow card was for a stomp on Teboho Mokwena's foot, and the referee would have no choice but to give a second yellow and a red. So for Egypt, although they had the advantage in the scoreboard and really the impetus in the game, proceeded to shoot themselves in the foot while stamping on another person's foot. by giving them a red card and thus ceding the numerical advantage, which means there's only going to be one way this game was going to be going. It would be going to South Africa. They'd be creating more of the ball, they'd be having more of the opportunities, while Egypt would essentially have to bunker down and essentially park the bus if they wanted to survive. And to an extent, that's what happened. And for South Africa, one of the big weaknesses was that we couldn't make, and this happened again in the World Cup game against Zimbabwe a couple months ago, where we were one man up, but we couldn't make the extra man count. In fact, there were times when you watch that game against Zimbabwe, you would be absolutely shocked if this was 10 v 11. You couldn't believe that this was 10 v 11. You would have thought this was 11 v 11. We couldn't make the extra man count. And for South Africa up front, we looked very, very stale up front, couldn't make the extra man count. And there were times where I really felt we needed to throw on some more dynamic players. The players that definitely were on the bench that needed to be thrown on in a game like this, where we needed to really pull Egypt apart and really pull their defensive structures apart, make that extra man and overlap and count, and we didn't really do that. Egypt do break occasionally, but again, it's snuffed out by Williams. Bogazi again puts on a stellar performance here against the likes of Salah and Mamouche. I mean, he did really, for someone like him to keep Mo Salah quiet was quite phenomenal. Salah doesn't have much of an influence in the game. Outside of the penalty, that's winning and converting the penalty, Salah doesn't make much of an impact in this game, and neither does Omar Mamouche. A lot of them get snubbed out by their defense, which was probably the best part of us all day long. Then comes the big controversial moment, the huge controversial moment. A ball gets floated into the area. It's not really dealt with. Tebogo Mokoena takes a shot at it. It hits Yasser Ibrahim in the arm, and at first it's given as a free kick for an obvious handball. But then the referee is called to the monitor to look for a penalty. He has a look at the monitor for a good 30-45 seconds to a minute, comes back and says no penalty. I mean, that was just absolutely deflating. And to an extent, by the letter of the law, he's right. I mean, I don't like it, but by the letter of the law, he's right, because Yasser Ibrahim has the supporting arm. He has a supporting arm. He needs the arm, so it's kind of a fair call. But at the same time, I've seen penalties. My problem is not necessarily the rule, it's the consistency. I've seen penalties like these given around the world. And, that's why I still had hope that this was going to be given, even with the rule, because I've seen these given around the world. And it just shows, Hugo Broos in his post-game presser said it really, really well, that we've changed the handball rules so much, we don't know what even is handball anymore, So it's very unfortunate. And on top of that, if we knew this wasn't a handball or a foul anyway, why call the free kick originally? Why? You could have just let play go on and then have the monitor and then go to VAR, because this was a free kick originally before the discussion of the penalty. So unfortunately, we have a legit, you could say semi-legit penalty shout turned down. Sadly, the game peters out and Egypt win. It is a controversial game. It's a game that the referee don't cover themselves. The VAR team do not cover themselves in glory, and it's a very, very rough game for us, for South Africa, that is. For Egypt, for Hossam Hassam, he's really starting to prove the critics wrong. He's not really the flashiest coach at the Cup of Nations. His team don't really play the best football at times, but they're getting results, and in tournament football, that's kind of all you need. It's the defining factor of tournament football, and I can only respect that. For us, we have to go back to the drawing board. I know, cliche saying, but we really have to sharpen our attack. And now we've left ourselves in a bit of an uncomfortable situation, having Zimbabwe on the final day, and there's going to be those traumatic flashbacks of that World Cup game in Durban, knowing that we're going to be playing Zimbabwe, a desperate Zimbabwe who also need a result just as bad, if not worse, than we do. And knowing that they're going to be extra motivated, and knowing that they could get in our skin. They've shown that they can get under our skin in the World Cup, and in the Cup of Nations now we face them again in a very similar situation, and it's going to be a very, very nervous wait until Monday. So this is how the group lines up. Of course, Egypt are top and are confirmed group winners. South Africa, though, are still in the pound seats to join them in the automatic spots. They're second with 3 points. Zimbabwe and Angola, are 1 point each. And heading into the final round of games, Egypt will take on Angola. And in the third and final COSAFA derby in this group, we'll see Bafana take on the Warriors. South Africa versus Zimbabwe, probably the most intense, emotional, and the most bitter of COSAFA rivalries will be played out. That could be played out this Cup of Nations will be played out with one team, with possibly only one team progressing to the next round. The winner of that match will surely be going through to the next round of the Cup of Nations. So it's going to be a really, really tough watch on Monday for both sides of the Limpopo border. Nations, or the games on the 27th, we will see Tunisia take on Nigeria. That's definitely going to be the game of the day. We see a CECAFA East African derby as the two hosts of the next Cup of Nations clash. That's Uganda versus Tanzania. While in Group C, Benin and Botswana, both winless from their opening day, will hope to get points on the board, while another massive game and probably the contender for game of the day sees us in Tangier as Senegal take on DRC. Both winners in the opening day, both of which no victory will see them through, and both not far removed from their epic World Cup encounter that they had in DRC a few weeks ago. That'll definitely be a one to watch. And that's it. That is the end of the video, guys. I know today it's great to see that with certain leagues and certain competitions getting rid of the Boxing Day tradition, it was great to see us fill in and feed you with the football you so badly starved today on Boxing Day. We were like that uncle. We were like that uncle that your parents would dump you in whenever they needed some time alone and you wanted to visit someone. You just visit the fun uncle. We were the fun uncle of the football world today. Anyway, what was the thoughts of the game today? I know you guys are burning in the comments. I know it. Sound off in the comments. What was the big moment? How did your team do? What is your opinion on the referee? What is your opinion on who was the player of the tournament so far? And what are your team's chances of progressing through to the next round? Don't forget to sound off in the comments. Don't forget to like, to share, and subscribe, and all the other wonderful stuff. And never forget, it's been your boy, the Football Otaku. And don't forget, real football always wins. Check you on the flip side. Deuces. Bye-bye.